spatial data tool. It was developed by planning and property practitioners to fill a gap within the market for an instrument which provides property-driven data. This is to help inform property-related decisions. In this video, I will explore the tools and the capabilities and limitations of Onemap. If I move over to the left here, we can see this is the toolbar, and unless you've got a tab open, the rest of it stays hidden. And then there's another toolbar on the side, on the right hand side. So there's property filters, map layers, property styles, projects from what you've saved, tools, site information, and the layer legend. Within this video, we're going to focus on a localized area. So I've headed up to property filters, locality, then we're going to select Maribyrnong. So you can see that it's zoomed into the city of Maribyrnong. Now it's quite difficult to see the boundary of Maribyrnong City Council without having these property features turned on, so it's just a little visible layer that you've got here. And you can actually change the opacity. So you can see there it's got quite a prevalent outline to the rest of Greater Melbourne or Melbourne City. And now we're going to explore some other tabs. So if we go to map layers, you can see here I could even turn on the suburbs if I wanted to, so you can see the suburb boundaries within the Maribyrnong City Council and also across Victoria and Melbourne. The federal electorates you have as an option, state electorates, etc. So that's under location. Now in planning, Onemap is actually quite a useful tool for urban context analysis. And the reason for this is it's got this is just under planning, but you've got planning zones here, and if you want to head over to the legend and click out, you can actually see which colour correlates to which development or planning zone. So that's one thing that you can look at. If you switch that off, you could also see heritage and built form overlays, which they've done in a hatching. Again, you can look at the layer legend on the other tab. It's just running through some planning. If we're having a look at context, so that's an overlay. We've got again another layer legend where this outlines educational spaces, office and commercial, retail. You've got public transport, where you could actually add public transport on its own layer as well if you don't want the entire context plan. So you've got buses, trams, trains, and even the dotted line are the bus routes. And moving further down, you've got development activity. So this is where they've incorporated some of the data into this program. So they've actually used data from census. And if we have a look at this, this is the housing developments between 2005 and 2014. So it doesn't have a legend here, but what we can assume from these circles are based on the size, the opacity or the depth of the colour is how we can analyse the growth of the area. So the smaller pink circles will be a lower housing development area, and the larger purple are more dense development areas. Now, when looking at these data options here, there's also another area where we can go for data. And if we have a look again at Maribyrnong, that will highlight the Maribyrnong area, all of its suburbs, and then under dataset we can select which dataset we want to be visualized within the map. This is where some of the limitations come in, because these are already pre-filled data sets and I can't seem to add any of my own data sets that I would want to visualize within my map. So that's something that is different to Mapbox. So if I want to have a look at population and density, we're going to run the analyzer and it's requesting results now. And that's just given me the results here. Okay, so if we select Geoscape building area and load the paired layer, it's still giving us the outline of Maribyrnong, but if we actually zoom in closer, we can see building heights. So you can see the roof heights. So this layer, this data layer, makes it quite simple to see which areas are built up, and this is quite quick to get this mapping layer as well. Okay, next I want to look at the population forecast. So I'm going to load this paired layer, and then you can see, while still staying on our focus area, a different shading within our map, and this has got the population count, and you can see the different gradients of the monochromatic pink that they've chosen, and this is where the data sets come from. It's given you all of the information, and you can quite easily export this map. You could title it population forecast A3, show legend on the same page, and continue. You're also given a couple of other page property options to visualize it within your page, and then you can export it as a PDF or you can print. So I'm going to close that. We can see that forecast there. If we do want to turn the forecast off to look at anything else, you can either switch the eye off or you can actually just delete the layer or cancel the layer. Next, I'm going to just move further down and look at the contours. So you've got the topographical maps, elevations and slope elevations. So this one's using a gradient mapping layer. You can see if we are moving further into where the Dandenong ranges are, you're getting quite a contrast within the mapping colours. Slope analysis, which when you're looking around the Maribyrnong River, you'll definitely have a different sloping analysis when you're thinking about the riverbed. You can also add multiple layers on top of each other, and you do that by adding a mapping layer. I just then go to an area of something I would like to add within my map. Let's go dwelling densities. You can see that it's adding that map on top. So I've got properties. If I wanted to switch that off, I can. If we added another one, Geoscape, could have a look at vegetation. And if we zoom out, we can see the different densities of vegetation across metropolitan Melbourne and Victoria. And when you're actually comparing it to the east, it is quite sparse throughout the western suburbs. Now, if I go and switch off a couple of these things so we can focus back on Maribyrnong. So I just cleared that blue boundary and I've gone back to retail. So that's showing us here retail and the distances between retail precincts or properties, and you can do that with anything. So that's government secondary schools and primary schools. Another great, if I switch that off, another great tool that they have, if I select a property or a site here, it actually gives each site an individual analysis of what it's close to with public transport, retail, supermarkets, schools. It's got all of the planning zones and areas, so this is really great for some of the property data that you would ideally look into before purchasing a house. And then you can also click on Site Report, and it generates a site report for you. It's just loading at the moment. But these are all these different maps that you can print out which help you inform your decision on a property or to get a better analysis of the area and the planning zones that potentially could give you more insight of the planning permits you may need if you wish to make any changes. So it's compiled all of these into a file together, and you can export it as a PDF you could print. And that's me exploring a lot of the different functions that Onemap has to offer. And you've got up here, you can change it to dark, Google Satellite, and then you can reset it all together. Thanks for watching.